desperate governments do desperate things. Do they want you to understand that this is going away, has absolutely zero value? The only value that it has is based upon the value that you put in it. The fact that you are willing to work for this.
Hello, everyone. Today we're talking about a big problem, debt. It's like a ticking time bomb for our money. Lynette Zhang will guide us through why this matters and what we can do to protect ourselves. We'll learn about things like how prices go up, what banks are doing, and why gold is important. So, get ready to understand how to keep your money safe in these uncertain times. Let's get started on this journey together.
So today I want to talk about the debt bomb, because this is really all about wealth preservation. And we have another, here's the OECD. So another global entity warning about this debt wall that needs to be reset. Well, why do you care about that? Maybe your debts are under control. But the problem is that's how money's created in the system, is by creating debt. And so the inability for governments to create more debt means that they can't really keep this Ponzi scheme going very much longer. Let's take a look at what the latest entity to call our attention to this debt bomb is saying. Governments and firms need to address the key risks from a sharp increase in global bond borrowing. That's because this wall is coming due. And it really doesn't matter. I mean, here they're talking about sovereign and corporate debt that stood at 100 trillion. Let us not forget all of those derivative bets placed on that 100 trillion. I can't even tell you, nobody can actually tell you the true value that is really at risk as this debt bomb explodes. But it does explain the overvaluations in all of these fiat money assets, these assets that are created from this debt bubble. It definitely does explain that. The global GDP was only 105 trillion. I don't think we have too many derivatives written against that. So can you see the problem? The problem is a complete imbalance with all of this huge wall of debt, whether it's sovereign debt, corporate bond debt, or even sustainable bond debt, which is a new category. You can see how much that's grown. And there's your roughly 100 trillion in debt wall that is coming due now and must reset. A new macroeconomic landscape of higher inflation and more restrictive monetary policies is transforming bond markets globally at a pace not seen in decades. Isn't that decades taking us back to 1970s? The last time we had an iteration? The difference between then and now is we had a much cleaner balance sheet. And money was created from debt rather than being at least quasi-backed by gold. So this has profound implications for government spending and financial stability at a time of renewed financing needs. Now, I want to break a few things down in here, and one of the things is higher inflation. Well, what does inflation really do? It robs you of your purchasing power. And, the interesting thing to me is that if you go to the Fed, which I probably have a chart in here, but if you go to the Fed, the Federal Reserve Education Department, you will see the loss of purchasing power out of the original dollar and what that used to buy, right? And there's officially 3 cents left, and it keeps going down in minute increments, but the reality is over 4,800 times, without exception, 100% of the time, the government-based fiat money is abused and it goes to its true fundamental value, zero, which is where gold also will go and everything else. At some point, I can't give you a lot of guarantees. I can guarantee you I will show up and do the work, but I can also guarantee you this. At some point, all assets, all instruments go to their true fundamental value, and currencies and currency life cycles are no different. We are at the end of this currency life cycle. But central banks have absorbed large parts of the increases in borrowings. So, it used to be that just third world countries had their central banks having to buy their debt because there were not enough buyers of that debt. But the reality is, even though we don't talk about it, mind you, the reality is that since 2002, the Federal Reserve has been forced to buy back some of our government debt. But they definitely didn't talk about it then because, again, that's what third world countries do. In 2009, that became a great thing. Well, it wasn't a great thing up until 2009. And to be honest with you, it's not a great thing anymore. It never was a great thing, and it isn't going to be a great thing. But the problem is that now all of these central banks, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, the European Central Bank, the U.S. Federal Reserve, they are all trying to reduce their nosebleed balance sheets. The central government debt to GDP ratio in OECD countries reached 83% at the end of 2023. Well, in the U.S., we're over 100%. But this is an increase of 30 percentage points compared to 2008. What happened in 2008? The system died. It really is just that simple. I knew it then. That's why I started my urban farm and developed the rest of my mantra, because I did not think I would see it in my lifetime. But, even as higher inflation, which boosted nominal GDP growth, because if you have to, what's GDP? That's all the money that floats through the system. So if you have to pay more for your bananas or your apples or anything else, guess what? That has a positive impact on GDP. That makes it look like the economy is growing when actually all it is declining this because they're doing this. That's what's happened in 2008, quantitative easing. Okay, so all of that inflation boosted nominal GDP growth and has contributed to a decrease in this ratio of more than 10 percentage points over the last 2 years. So if they're saying that it is a 30% increase since 2008 when the system died, what they're actually saying is that it was more like a 40% increase. Desperate governments do desperate things. Do they want you to understand that this is going away, has absolutely zero value? The only value that it has is based upon the value that you put in it. The fact that you are willing to work for this and to use it as your tool of barter. And now you might say, well, Lynette, don't you work for that too? I work for that, and I convert it into this, plus food, water, energy security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. So yes, right now, this is the system. And even moving into the CBDCs, which they're going to bring out whether we like it or not, if I have this 100% of the time, and no matter where I am in the world, because this is universal money, I can always convert into the local currency, whatever that may be. The same cannot be true. The opposite way. You cannot always convert the local currency into this, unless, of course, you're a government and you dictate it so. And I don't even really, you could buy it. I don't want to buy it. But that what they're saying is that little bit of interest is worth you risking your principal. I don't think so. There are strategies, if you're using bonds to generate income, there are strategies inside of my personal strategy that I developed based on all my work that I've done since 1987 on how to make sure that you have that income. And you need to understand what that strategy is. And I'm going to be explaining this in different videos as we go through, because I can explain a lot more. So gold rose as much as 1.1%, boosted by the Fed chair's comments during his congressional testimony. Powell said it will likely be appropriate to begin lowering borrowing costs at some point this year, but made clear they're not ready yet. And with the data that just came out on inflation, they're not going to be ready yet for a while. He also said he's not looking for inflation to reach the central bank's 2% target to start easing policy. No, I think that what he's going to be looking for is a big crack in what is happening, because the rapid ascent, this is what I really love, the rapid ascent, talking about spot gold, that has happened without any major catalyst. So what does that tell you? If spot gold is going up, which is a manipulated market anyway, because a rising gold price is an indication of a failing currency, and they don't really want you to know that. So if the pressure on gold pushes the visible price that you see higher against a backdrop of suppression, well, number one, now I don't do this very well yet, but I'm still going to give it a shot, right? Because when you push down on anything for long enough and then you remove your hand, it shoots in a direction. And I've been showing you for a while that spot gold had done first 2 tops, then 3 tops, then 4 tops. And also I showed you how it had broken out, but that they were still suppressing it. So we had quadruple tops, which really never happens. But what's really happening with gold now is when you remove your hand, it shoots in a direction. So I think that it's really interesting that they're saying, oh, wow, this has happened without any major catalyst. Oh, really? Because my question to you is, the catalyst for me is the hyperinflation that I believe has already begun. Are you ready for it?
Thank you for joining us on our exploration of money matters and how to protect our wealth. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more useful tips. Let's keep learning and growing together as we navigate the world of finance. Until next time, take care and keep making smart financial choices. Thanks again.